Earlier this week, we learned that Russia's Federal Security Agency, the FSB, has arrested at least 14 Russian individuals suspected of running one of the most notorious and prolific hacking groups of all time. Known as REvil, or Sodnokibi, the true history of this hacking group goes back years in the making. The arrests took place all across Russia, from Moscow, St. Petersburg, Leningrad, and at least 2 other cities. What's interesting is the cooperation with the United States law enforcement through intelligence shared with the FSB. Russia says in their report they used this intelligence to create their own investigation leading to these arrests. We quote, "The FSB of Russia established the full composition of the REvil criminal community and the involvement of its members in the illegal circulation of means of payment and documented illegal activities. In order to implement the criminal intent, these persons developed malicious software, organized the theft of funds from bank accounts of foreign citizens, and their cashing out, including by purchasing expensive goods on the internet." Now, for many of us, this might seem quite surreal. This actually happened? The arrests that impacted many of us so personally, having been victims of these attacks, have finally been arrested? It seems surreal, but real it is. The FSB has recovered millions in Russian rubles, cryptocurrency, naturally, 600,000 in US dollars, and nearly that amount in euros as well. In addition to that, the FSB also seized crypto wallets, computer equipment, and 20 premium cars purchased with that money. Wait a minute, premium cars, you say? Premium like this car right here? I've talked for years about Maxim Yakubets, the operator of REvil's predecessor, EvilCore, and his braggadocious behaviors. There's more than a few videos of him parading one of his multiple Lamborghinis or other exotic cars all around his Russian town, while police officers and other officials just look the other way. While we don't know if Yakubets was one of the ones arrested yet, we do know the overlap between REvil, who is arrested by FSB this week, and EvilCore are known to be one and the same. So that brings up this question: where did such arrogant behavior come from? How did these hackers, who went from nothing to complete notoriety, living like kings, come to be? Well, as it turns out, there's a long story in the making. REvil itself owns its history to EvilCore, and before that, an even more prolific group known as GandCrab. They were pioneers of the ransomware as a service model, paying affiliates who did the dirty work for GandCrab as high as 70% commissions from paid out ransoms. But just after a year and a half of being on the scene, GandCrab suddenly and surreptitiously shut down. But why? Why would a hacking group who claimed to make over $2 billion and $2.5 million a week suddenly shut down out of the blue? We don't know. But what we do know is this. Looking at GandCrab's shutdown announcement, they made some interesting claims. They said, and we quote, "All good things come to an end." And later in the announcement, they also said, "We are leaving for a well-deserved retirement. We have proven that by doing evil deeds, retribution does not come. We've proved that in a year, you can make money for a lifetime." And so just as suddenly as they came on the scene, they left. But did they truly leave? For a few months, all was quiet. But then we saw from the ashes of GandCrab a new hacking group emerge. They were called REvil. And REvil seemed to have, to most threat researchers, very close identical behaviors in terms of the malware and threat operations, leading most to believe that GandCrab never truly died. They just changed their name. They changed from GandCrab to REvil. And while we may never know how many of those threat actors came on board from GandCrab over to REvil, we know for a fact many of them did, as the two share a deep history. Perhaps some of GandCrab's threat actors did ride off into the sunset, rich as kings. But just like the dread pirate Roberts in The Princess Bride, we know that at least some of those hackers did indeed move over to REvil. And if one thing held true, that same arrogance from GandCrab, that braggadocious behavior, it came over to REvil as well. REvil continued their attacks at staggering levels. They hit the world's largest meat processor, JBS. Shortly thereafter, they targeted and attacked Kaseya, a software provider for managed IT services. They leveraged that attack to go after many thousands of victims around the world. Now, those attacks, when combined with others like SolarWinds and Colonial Pipeline, both of which were not attacked by REvil, did lead to the President Biden administration taking deeper action. In Geneva, Biden demanded Russian President Putin do more to stop these cybercriminals known to be operating in Russia. The FBI even placed reward notices on many of the alleged REvil hackers. And while REvil did shut down and go into hiding for a few months, they re-emerged once again to continue operations. And while so many of REvil's attacks were successful, netting them billions of dollars in funds stolen from victims, maybe, just like Icarus before them, they flew a little too close to the sun. You see, these hackers, living like kings among men, doing what they seemed to be right in their own eyes, as much power and as much money and as much influence as they had, doing whatever they wished, perhaps their demise was coming soon after all. It seems that Russian officials have finally had enough. And for the thousands of victims, many of whom I know personally, that I've worked with, that have shed tears over business loss, that had no clue how they were going to pay their own employees, let alone their families, that lost countless hours of sleep, that continuously dealt with stress, with angry customers, with law enforcement, with legal, with all of these challenges, none of which they asked for, simply being victims of a significant cyber attack through ransomware from REvil, perhaps they finally have justice. You see, let's not forget that REvil didn't just go after large behemoth organizations. You know, those that are too big to fail. You see, they also went after small businesses, and quite a lot of them, as well as small MSPs, regular salt of the earth folks. Well, do you remember that note that GanCrab left all those years ago back in 2019? That they have proven that by doing evil deeds, retribution does not come? Well, today we all stand together in unison and say, you are wrong. Retribution does come, and it has come to these individuals. It just came in its own time. Thank you.